What's going on, YouTube? It's AJ. We back on the couch. Today, we got Rachel. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. How's your day going?
It's going good. It's going good.
That's cool. It's a beautiful Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Sun's out.
Yeah, it's hot.
It ain't raining.
Yeah, it's not raining. It's been raining for a long time out here. So.
Exactly. Because we've been delivering content, rain or shine. And because of that, go and drop a like. Subscribe. Comment. Tell a friend. Share it with a friend. Make sure that they like, comment, and subscribe. And guess what? If they don't like YouTube, it's okay. I'm on Apple Podcasts. We on Spotify. We on Anchor. We on Breaker. We on Google Podcasts, and so on and so forth. So if you ain't with the YouTube, you got options. Let's talk about education. Okay. But not like education systems. Let's talk about experiences with education.
Okay.
And let's talk about how the environment that you're in may or may not have an impression on your education and then the experience that you have with it.
Yeah.
You cool with that?
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
All right, you cool with that? You cool with that, Saint? He cool with that
cool
too.
with it.
He cool with it.
Okay.
So let's talk to the people. You're a college graduate.
Yeah.
You got your bachelor's.
2 times.
2 times? You got 2 bachelors?
No, I'm saying I'm a 2-time graduate.
You a 2? Go. Okay. So what degrees do you hold?
I have a Bachelor of Business Administration and Management and a Master's of Science in Strategic Communication.
Come on, Masters of Science?
Yeah.
So where did you attain these degrees from?
So my bachelor's is from Prairie View A&M University, and my master's is from Columbia University in New York City.
Yeah. Is that an Ivy League school?
It is.
And it's just the dust off your shoulders.
When I was at Columbia, I was at the School of Professional Studies. So like how they had a College of Business or something like that.
Right.
They have like SEPA, Teachers College, which is like education. SEPA is International and Public Affairs. So it's like people in government and stuff like that.
So what is like, is SEPA an acronym?
Yeah, School of International and Public Affairs.
Oh, okay. In my head, I was hearing like an E.
Oh no, it's IPA.
I got you.
Yeah, so the School of Professional Studies, there was a plethora of majors, like strategic communication for one, nonprofit management, sports management, so forth and so on. That's
cool. So, you said you went to Prairie View A&M University?
I did.
Is that an HBCU?
It is.
Would you say it's the best one in Texas?
I would definitely say that.
Okay, all right. I was just asking.
I would definitely say that.
So, what was your experience like? Attending a HBCU while you were pursuing your undergrad degree?
I loved it. So, I knew that I wanted to go to a HBCU very young. I was like in the 2nd grade. My uncle graduated from Texas Southern, so I got exposed to like. Don't do that. I got exposed to HBCU culture very young. And growing up out here, like Katy-ish area, it's diverse for the most part, but my experience growing up like in the suburbs as a Black person, a lot of times I was like the only Black girl or like the only Black person in my classes, and in like most of the extracurriculars that I did, aside from like sports and choir and stuff like that. So I would say, although it was diverse on a day-to-day basis, I wasn't getting exposed to like a lot of Black culture at school and stuff like that.
Right.
But when I got exposed to like, my first HBCU experience was a Labor Day Classic.
Oh.
So yeah. So I went to a Labor Day Classic with my uncle when I was like in elementary school. And I was like, yeah, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to be. Because like, I went to like my brother's football games. He was in a band. But I went to like his football games and stuff like that, and it like didn't compare at all. So I always knew I wanted to go to HBCU. And it was interesting because I graduated top 10% from my high school. A lot of people don't know that.
Okay, genius.
So I'm not a genius, but the crazy thing about that is like in Texas, so they have the general application, and so when you do that, when you graduate like at that standard, you can pretty much go to any school in Texas that you want to go to. And I had the Be on Time loan, which kind of acts as a scholarship if you abide by the standards of it. So when I told like my family and everybody for like signing day and stuff that I was going to Prairie View, a lot of people were confused because a lot of people in this area go to like the Big Ten, Pac-12 schools, stuff like that. And I remember my uncle, a different uncle, told me like, you're just gonna be another black person at another black school. And so like,
wow.
I wouldn't say that when I was at Prairie View, I was trying to like prove people wrong, but I think that a lot of people think like it's a bad narrative that HBCUs are like a second option, or like a fallback plan. And I think to be at like, I guess the standard that I was at, and to be like, no, I chose to go here and I wanted to go here. That showed like a lot of people, like my friends and stuff, like that's something to that. Like that means something, and there's something to be said about HBCUs. So I would say the best thing about being at an HBCU for me, and coming from like the background that I came from, it showed me like the black culture in a plethora of ways. And I think it was a beautiful thing to be a part. Like to know every day I could show up as my unique black self, and everybody else was gonna do the same thing. Like it wasn't just a one-stop shop. And it wasn't like, I don't feel like people were trying to be something that they weren't. I feel like everybody had that comfortability level that like, I belong here and I'm gonna be something great. And I feel like that was instilled in us as well.
That's cool. So you said some things that I'm wondering about, like how that went. So being that I don't want to say the way you grew up because that sounds bad, but like being that you grew up, in a suburban area, being sometimes the only black person or the only black woman in your classes and all of that, and then making a transition, going to a HBCU, and then like pretty much everybody's black. Like, was there any type of like a culture shock for you, or like anything along those lines?
No, because I felt like so it's interesting because where I grew up, like I went to one middle school, one elementary, one high school. And so I stay on the northwest side of Houston. And I think I was telling you this the other day, like a lot of people that I went through middle school and like, elementary, high school with, they grew up like on the north side. So they were like from Acres Homes and stuff like that. So I got to interact with like a diverse group of people. It would just so happen that now like the diverse group of people were all black at Prairie View. So I wouldn't say that I really had a culture shock. Yeah, it was just like it was more so like more acceptance than anything. When I look back on it, and once I got to Columbia and I could see the parallels of how I grew up and how like shy I was, and how like a lot of times I didn't have maybe the confidence that I needed, I can look at Prairie View and be like, okay, I had that there. And so what if I would have grew up in a culture like Prairie View? Like how far along would I be now? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, I wouldn't say that I had a culture shock.
So being that a lot of HBCUs, not just Prairie View specifically, have the stigma attached to it, like being the second option, or that maybe it's not as good of a school, or maybe the facilities aren't as up to date or up to the same standard as some of like I'll just say larger schools, and not HBCUs. What's your opinion on that? Like, how do you weigh in when it comes to the the experience of what resources were available to you going to a HBCU? Like, do you feel like they were adequate? Do you feel like it wasn't enough? Like, what's your perspective on that?
So while I was at Prairie View, I felt like it was adequate if you took advantage of what was given to us, because there was a lot of resources and there was a lot of people there to that wanted you to succeed in like hidden gems, if you will. But when I got to Columbia and I could see like they just had money. Like that was just it. Like they had $1 billion endowment.
Wow.
So it's like, you know, events got open bars, and it's like a whole different like experience. So I would say that given the scope that Prairie View is at, I think they do well for themselves, and definitely with the bringing in Dr. Ruth, she has definitely brought in a lot of more resources and things like that. And as the different things that come out of Prairie View, like the band or the athletic teams, or even like, you know, College of Engineering, College of Nursing, College of Business, the more we make a name for ourselves as alumni and stuff like that, the more those resources continue to grow. Right. Because people start to see the value in it. But overall, I would say, to use your word, it's adequate. You just have to look for it and want to take advantage of it.
Okay. So, if you had a choice, right? Let's say you live in a different state. It's not Texas. Let's say you live in a different state and you have a kid. Top 10% can go anywhere in. I know that's a Texas thing, but we'll just say it's somewhere else. And they're juggling, like they're not sure. They're like, do I pick this HBCU or do I pick this large institution that has a lot of money? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you have that conversation with them?
So I definitely say go where the money resides. You know, make a smart decision. One of the biggest reasons why I went to grad school is because it was paid for. And so I would weigh out those options. Of course, I want my kids to go to an HBCU. But if you got a school, you know, handing you this scholarship versus taking out loans, of course take the scholarship. But if it's like the same, like you're getting the same from each school, then I would definitely say go with an HBCU, because it's just a different, they're going to look out for you different. And it's going to be a completely different experience. And I know a lot of people that are like, I wish I would have went to Prairie View. Even my sister, she's 6 years older than me, and she's going back for her master's, and she's like, I got to go to HBCU, because she was like, I just see like what they did for you and what it's done for you as a person. And so I think it's like you got to experience it. Yeah. You got to experience it.
That's beautiful. So I definitely agree. I feel like Prairie View did a lot for me too. You know, the school I went to, like, it was diverse enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, we had like a decent amount of like Hispanic students, Black students, white students, whatever the case. But I feel like as far as like how you were talking about that acceptance and like people just being themselves and the way that people kind of pour into you, like that was something different than what I had like going through school. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of my teachers, you know what I'm saying? Like most people teach, there's a lot of white people. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that, but I feel like because there's not another level of relatability outside of education, that the way that they handle you is different. Versus like when you go to like a HBCU like PV and you have like Black deans, assistant deans, presidents, professors, athletic, and so on and so forth. Because there's another layer of relatability, the way that they pour into you and the way that they handle you is different. Oh wow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but no, that's good, because I wasn't even thinking about, I was thinking about my peers when I said that, like the acceptance and the relatability. But no, it's crazy that you said that, because when I was at Columbia, like, man, I was in the HBCU fellowship, and so it was like people the School of Professional Studies, like, head dean was a black man, and the assistant dean was a black woman, but the people over my academic department, they were all white, but they were, how can I say, like, not from America.
Right.
So it was very different the way they handled, like, us. And it was kind of in like a micromanaging sense. Because I know, for instance, my last semester when I was there, I had to complete an internship, but I also, like, I needed the money to be able to stay through the summer.
Right. And
so I didn't want to extend into the fall semester, because we had the option to do 3 semesters or 4. And, like, it was a big deal because I was going to take 4 classes and work full time. And they were telling me, like, you'll have to go through, like, mental health counseling check-ins weekly, like, to make sure you're performing well.
Oh, wow.
And all types of stuff. And I was just thinking, like, when I was at PB, I had, like, 2, sometimes 3 jobs, and was doing way more.
Right.
And the thing about grad school is you only go to school, like, 3 times a week. So you get 4 days to yourself. And the work, I would say the work is like, so for my department, we didn't have tests and stuff. So it was all like oral presentations or written work, like case studies and stuff like that.
Right.
And a lot of group work. So it was like the rigor was intense, but it wasn't as hard, if that makes sense.
Like, it was more so like focused.
Yes.
And like, this is the topic, or like, this is the the thing that we're gonna learn. Here's whatever assignment.
Yeah.
Finish it. Yeah. Get y'all next time.
Yeah, because some classes, it was like we would only have like 5 assignments.
Right.
For the whole semester, or like 3 assignments for the whole semester. But you know, like in undergrad, it's like, you got this paper due this week, then you got to do these discussion posts, and then you got to. Yeah. So yeah, it wasn't. You had to just like. Yeah. Be accountable.
Right. That's cool. So, how can I word this? So, having the HBCU experience, what would you say that did for you as a person? Not professionally, but just like as a person. Because I know you were saying like about how sometimes you can be shy and like coming out of your shell and things like that. So what did the HBCU experience do for you as a person?
I think it made me much more confident. It just made me realize that I could be myself, and like there was no like right or wrong way to be a black person. And I think Dr. Wilson said it the best in one of our psychology classes. He said if there's, and I'll make up a number, 5,000 whatever black people in the world, then that means that there's 5,000 whatever ways to be black. And he kind of had like a similar experience like us, because he was from California, and he talked about growing up and going to a HBCU, or like moving to Atlanta or something like that.
Right.
And his experience, and how it was just like, it's kind of crazy to look back on and realize like, wow, I really grew up like this. Because you don't really realize what's wrong and what's kind of like weird about it when you're in it. But then
you don't know nothing else.
Yeah. And but when I can look back on instances being in class and like just not wanting to speak up, or like not wanting to raise my hand but knowing the answer, or like just feeling like weird in class all the time, and just not like, people think I don't talk now, but like in school and stuff growing up, like I really did not talk. I really just sat there and like learned and was waiting for the day to be over, or waiting to get to basketball practice, or to choir practice, something like that. So I think it just made me like much more confident, much more of a go-getter, and more like advocate for myself more.
Right.
Because it showed me what I was capable of doing, and like not to take less than that or accept less than that.
That's cool. That's real solid. That's real solid. So for now, I'm gonna say this will be my last question for undergrad, but we'll see.
Okay.
So I guess reflecting and seeing like how having black professors, black faculty, black staff, we'll say majority black peers as far as students go and whatnot, and the way that you had that level of acceptance, how people handled you and all of that, would you say that that had any effect on your experience learning? Like, was it beneficial having all of those things? Did it not really make a difference to you? Like, how was that?
I think it made the classroom environments a little more exciting to go to. Especially like the classes where there was a lot of interaction or discussion. And I think another great thing about that is like there were certain professors, you know, like you were gonna get life lessons.
Right.
Like we might not talk about anything related to what we supposed to be learning.
Right.
But it was all beneficial, and it was all like you at the cookout or something talking to your uncle or something like that. So I think it just made like going to class much more excitable. It just like every day was an experience. Sometimes how can I say, it could be a little interesting, I guess is the word you could say.
Can you elaborate on that? Because, you know, interesting is an interesting word.
I would say it would be like maybe not enough like different thought pieces sometimes, or maybe not enough interaction, because sometimes it could be like the same few giving input. But other than that, I think that would probably have been the only downside. But I think that can happen everywhere, because you always have like the people that talk more, talk less.
That makes sense. All right. So you graduated.
Yes.
2018.
Yes.
Got the call. Columbia on the phone. You're in. Making the move. You get to New York. What's your first thoughts when you get there?
Ooh, my first thought. So I had never been to New York before moving there, and the whole getting to Columbia was like I don't want to say chance, but it was very much divine intervention. I did not have a plan after graduating. I switched my major from marketing to management my senior year because I just wanted to graduate. I was interning and I had like 2 part-time jobs, but I had no plan. And so it was kind of just like, okay, I'm gonna nominate you for this program, take your GRE, do the application, get your recommendations, and we're gonna see what happens. And I really didn't find out that I got accepted until like the end of April.
Wow.
So I really did not know what I was gonna do.
Oh, wow. So for reference, end of April was only a few weeks, like maybe 2 or 3 weeks before graduation. Graduation was May the 12th.
Yes.
And so find out at the end of April.
Yes. Whew. So that was like a big sigh of relief. And I didn't tell, my parents knew that I was applying to grad school, they didn't know where.
Right.
So I got the acceptance. I got to New York. My mom and my sister came with me. My dad can't travel. So like, I'm not gonna lie, when they left, I cried because I think it set in that, wow, like, what I'm doing, like, why I'm here.
Right.
And so it was an overwhelming experience. Because when I lived in New York, I lived in the International House. So I was like a block up from the 125th station, a couple blocks up from the Apollo. So I was in Harlem.
Yeah.
It's gentrified by Columbia, but it was Harlem. But they call it Morningside Heights.
Oh, wow.
So My roommates were from Tokyo and Russia.
Mm. Real international house.
Yes.
Okay.
It was like, I think the stats is like not even a third of the people are from America.
Wow.
And then like the HBCU fellowship was like the black people of iHouse. So it was just very overwhelming. I remember crying and being in the elevator and like trying to like thug it out. And this man was like, it's gonna get better. He was one of the men that worked there, and he was like, you're new here, right? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, it's gonna get better. And so I think I had to like go to the store or something right after that, and I ended up in the Bronx. And like, if you in the Bronx, like that's like real New York experience. So it was just exciting overall, but very overwhelming. So I think for my fellowship that weekend, they had like a dinner planned for us, and we went to Broadway. So I got lost in Times Square. But I made like, we bonded, and that's the thing about HBCUs. The day I got to iHouse and I got out the car, my friend Todd was moving in too.
Oh,
and
wow.
like we like linked eyes, and so we kind of like went through the whole thing together. We're actually like very close friends.
That's really cool.
And I met another guy, Major Javante. He went to Winston-Salem. They were like the first two people I met, and they were actually roommates, which is crazy. And like, we were all like this, like all 20 of us. And so it just, that, even them, having them alone, like, we always joke, like, when we tell like the administration, like, if we wasn't with them, we probably would have dropped out. But like, it's true. And that just goes to show, like, you can go to TSU, Clark, Spelman, anything. The HBCU as a unit is gonna stick together. Yeah,
no, that's very, very large facts.
Yes,
right there, my friend. Very large facts, big facts, if you will.
Yes.
So I'm gonna skip a little bit. Like, I still want to get to the beginning of your experience at Columbia and all of that, but I'm gonna skip a little bit. Okay. So you mentioned that, like, as the HBCU community, on occasion when y'all talk to the administration, like, man, if I didn't have them here, deuces, we out. So would you say that, I know that, when we were talking about undergrad, you were saying that as far as how your education experience went, like, the community kind of played a part, but not like a major part. So like, once you got to Columbia, and then you found your community, you know what I'm saying, being in the HBCU fellowship, did that have an impact on your education experience at Columbia?
It did. And the thing was, we were all different majors too, but we did a good job of always connecting on the weekends, or connecting during the week and debriefing, and like just being a support system for each other. In the classroom setting, or my specific department, there was only 3 of us, and the other guy that was in it, he was actually from Houston too. So that was good to have that support system. I'm laughing because he was crazy. But that support system, and then I had another girl from Spelman who was also in Stratcom, strategic communications. So the weird thing is, so we knew our classes, what our classes were, before going. And so a few days or like a week before, we get an email like, oh, rosters have been shuffled. And so we kind of caught on. After a while, they split us up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the second semester, we got to pick our classes. And so me and Jalen, that's another boy, the boy that was from Houston too, we kind of stuck it through together. And even the first semester, we kind of had most of our classes together. And we were only the second cohort of like the HBCU fellowship.
Right.
So I think that there was this notion that, and I don't know if this is correct or not, but I'm not sure if the first cohort, for lack of better words, repped it as hard as we did. Right. It was kind of like a keep it under wraps type of deal.
Yeah, I got you.
But for us, it was kind of like, yeah, like we're here on scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
And people knew about it, and it was gaining notoriety. And I think that upset some people. I know.
Why you say that?
For instance, there was one guy in one of my classes who said like he didn't think that it was fair that we had got we were getting the experience that we got, because we got to do like there was a lot of special events for us and things that we got to do and take advantage of. But it's the same thing, like they could have been doing this stuff too. It was just more like everything was catered for us, I guess you could say. And our fellowship, and he kind of just said that he felt like we were getting special treatment. And I could understand the anger, because it's like $40K tuition alone to go to Columbia a semester. So you got to put on like housing in New York City,
right?
All the other fees and all that stuff. So I get it, but then it's also like, should have went to HBC. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. But and I think even and like Columbia is one of those schools that's like, this was my dream school. This was like, and for people to kind of be like, oh well, like I got it through like this nomination or through this. I could see it, because even my roommate, one of them, she kind of asked me like, oh, how did you end up here? Like, what was your process? And I told her how it was kind of like by chance. And I could see like her demeanor change and like be upset and stuff. So I think I forgot your question. You were asking me. You were asking me the environment, the academic environment.
Right. But I think you talked about it. You said that as a community, the fellowship, excuse me, with the fellowship, y'all held each other accountable. Y'all got together. Y'all studied. Y'all checked in on each other. All of that stuff. So no, you definitely answered it.
Okay. Yeah.
But in the midst of your answer, when you talked about when they shuffled the rosters and split y'all up, do you feel like that you benefited from that, since you didn't have a familiar face to just kind of bond with in those classes, or do you feel like it kind of put you at a disadvantage and made you uncomfortable?
I think at first it definitely made me uncomfortable the first semester. But I had like a very intense professor that semester as well. But it also helped me meet a lot of people. And the thing about Columbia, it's a PWI or Ivy League, whatever you want to call it, but there's a lot of international people there.
Right.
And so it was really cool to like interact with people from Singapore or people from Taiwan or what have you. And so I think once I got through the initial, and how I was talking earlier, I could see like the parallels beginning of how I was reverting back to myself growing up and being like uncomfortable, being like the only black person or one of the like three. So I knew I didn't want to be in that limited like mind space of holding
like
myself
back.
Yeah. So I think that it made me branch out. And since we had to present and stuff so much, I think that got people to see like our personality more. And so, people naturally gravitate to other people. Yeah. And I had a very good friend. She was actually from Queens, and we had like every class together. And she would always get the extra credit. And I was like, dang, who is this girl? And so like we naturally became friends because we had like every class together. And then there was a few other people like we gravitated toward each other, and everybody was like super nice as far as like the students went. Right. So it wasn't a bad experience, I would say.
That's cool. That's real cool.
And our cohort, like for StratCom, the full-time students was pretty small too as well. So we all kind of interacted together.
Right. That's real cool. So when you did go to Columbia, like, did you stay on campus? Was it like, how can I put it, campus housing? Like, what was that like? Where did you stay? Where did you live? Where'd you lay your head at
night? So the International House was all graduate school. So some people went to NYU, and I forget the other school, but I was about 10 blocks from campus. So
Okay.
I was like at 125th-ish and campus is on 116th.
Okay.
So yeah, I was like, it was a walk, but it was technically off campus, graduate student housing.
So did you feel like, even though you were in grad student housing, do you feel like you still got the Columbia experience?
Definitely yes, because a lot of people that lived in the housing that I was at went to Columbia, and then we got so many like events that we would go to and alumni things that they would do for us, and so I felt like I got the Columbia experience, and even just like walking to campus or staying on campus for a long time through like between classes and stuff.
Right.
I feel like I got the experience. I don't know. I always wonder what the Columbia experience is like for undergrad, because I seem like it feels like it's kind of different.
Right.
Just from like seeing like the orgs and stuff that they have. So yeah, but yeah, I think I got a good experience.
That's cool. So, as a standalone experience, not comparing it to PB, how would you describe the Columbia experience from a grad student's perspective?
Very liberal. The culture there in New York City is very liberal. Sometimes it can come off as performative.
What makes you say that?
For instance, there will be some things where it's like, okay, it's Pride Month, so we're gonna post this Pride flyer. It was some things like it seemed like they were doing it because they knew they should.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so I would say performative in that sense.
Right.
But you would still feel this type of experience. Because it was still, I would say New York, is one of the most diverse places, but there was still very much like segregated in a way. And not to go on a tangent, but I know when I did my internship, I like pioneered a diversity roundtable for where I worked. And one of the men said like he had lived in New York City for 26 years and that was his first time sitting at a table with like Black women or Asian women.
Wow.
Or, and so like that goes to tell you like the type of experience you can have in New York City. And it's not that many people that are from New York City. A lot of people migrate there as well. So, they bring their values and their beliefs and things as well. So I would definitely say it was very liberal, diverse, like people from all over the world. Coming from Texas, it was a shock, like the level, how can I say, of professionalism in a way, or like the standard of manners.
Okay.
Like, I was calling my professors like Dr. Visconti, Doctor, and it was like, call me Kevin, or like, call me Gabriel,
Right.
Call me Matthew. And so, and there was people that like did that off the bat,
right.
And it was kind of like, what, like,
yeah.
You don't call this grown man by his first name? And so it was just like, that was a thing.
Right.
I remember going to the career fair. That was different. It was kind of, come as you are. Here it's like, you got to wear a suit and tie.
Right.
You got to do this, do that. But it was like, some people just came like in dreams.
Oh, wow.
And some people just, even when we would go like to site visits and stuff, it was kind of just like, the culture was very lax. But I don't think that was a bad experience because it showed you like, you don't gotta wear like a suit and tie to be successful. Or you don't have to present yourself, like be comfortable, be yourself. But yeah, I would say those were like the key differences. The standard of professionalism, how liberal it was, and just how like diverse on a global scale it was.
Okay. So I often hear that different people have different experiences just across the board.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we have a different experience being black from people who aren't black, and so on and so forth. So when it comes to your level of education that you have attained, and the things that you know, the degrees that you've achieved, so on and so forth, and being a woman, is there any, like, do people question, you know what I'm saying, like, your degrees, or question your knowledge, or like if you say something and you know it's like a fact and you know it's true, whatever the case, do you ever feel like people are second guessing you or anything because you're a woman? Like, do you ever feel like they treat you different?
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I ran into that. Sometimes I try to shy away from like relaying my accomplishments and things like that, because it can be, I didn't want to say what I was thinking, but it could be like a
Go and say it.
I can't say it. It could be like a who is bigger type of situation.
Yeah.
And it's like, at the end of the day, you can get an education. You can learn in any way. And I always try to make the fact that, like, I might have all these accolades or whatever you want to say, but I just have genuinely always had a thirst for knowledge.
Right.
And to learn. And so if people try to second guess me or like try to be condescending to me, I can dish it right back. So it's kind of just like, we can take it there if you want to go there.
Right. If they want the smoke, you got it.
Yeah, and it's like, the one thing I hate is that nice nasty.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I can, and I love it the best in emails, because I can take it there with you.
Right.
But yeah, I think you can get that anywhere, and especially being a woman, you know, they say, like, people try to step over us and stuff like that. I really don't get it a lot from men. I get it more from women, and more from white women.
Right.
So
why do you think that is? That you don't really get it from men, but you get it from women?
I think that, for instance, I don't know if I can present myself, I'm pretty monotonous. You know, I'm very like laid back. And I don't know if that's just like a nature of, that's more in men or something like that. But I think women, we have this notion that we have to prove ourselves in whatever setting that it may be in. And I think that we know she got it. Right. And I think like that's something that we just know. And I think that, I don't know why I get it more from women, but even like in social settings or stuff like that growing up, I've always gotten that like that sour tone from, more so from women. And I don't know why or what it is, but I think I get it in the instances that I've gotten it from white women. I think it is because I'm more of a mellow, monotonous type of person. I'm not like that super happy-go-lucky, high energy all the time. Right. And so I think that kind of rubs people the wrong way in a way. They think maybe like, oh, she don't want to be here, or like, I don't know. But it's just like, when I'm at work or doing something, like I'm like in that mindset. Yeah. So it's not so much that I'm not trying to make friends or be this happy-go-lucky person. It's that, okay, I'm here to do this and move on to the next thing. Right. So I don't think people like that.
Okay. Okay. That's fair. That's fair. So, that's interesting. Not that it made me lose my train of thought. It's just I halfway want to go more into that, but I'm gonna leave that where it's at.
Okay. Okay.
um. So you went to Columbia,
Mhm.
did your thing,
Mhm.
got your degree.
Yes.
So, do you ever find yourself reflecting on your time in Columbia, and like more so in the sense of like, oh, well, the classes were like this, the professors were like that. Like, do you ever find yourself reflecting on that and then kind of compare it to like PB at all?
Uh, yes. Because I enjoyed my classes at PV and I enjoyed my classes at Columbia. I think I enjoyed my classes more at Columbia because I had a better understanding of what I actually wanted to be in school for. Like I told you, when I was at PV, I really didn't know. I was, I wouldn't say going through the motions, but I was doing what I knew I was supposed to be doing,
Right.
which was going to school and getting a degree. But I wasn't doing like something I was like, I don't even want to say passionate about, but something that just truly, truly interested me. So I think my favorite professor at Columbia was Frank Oswald, and he really made us think. So he taught ethics and persuasion, and the way, he woke up every day to teach, and so the way that he like catered his classes was like nothing I had ever seen before, and it really just like made you think so deep and like go deeper. And it's crazy because um he was like, I did not expect to like him as much as I did, because I think he was one of my first assignments that I like they didn't give me an A on. I was like, how you not gonna give me an A? And so I wanted to redo it and stuff, and he was like, no, but I have faith that like you'll bounce back. And so I was like, I don't like this man. But no, I think about, when I compare them, I think about just the quality of conversations that we had and how the classes at Columbia, being a strategic communications major, being a communications or marketing major in general, I don't think people realize how much we learn about self, and how much we learn about psychology, and people. And so going into that space and coming from a business space where it was like cutthroat, how business is, versus going into like, I wouldn't say like la la land, but like being like more introspective and more, how can this truly impact people and be profitable, was two parallels or two like tracks that were very good to compare to. And I think coming from the business background really shaped my experience in strategic communication, because we still had to do, like, you had to, I think, to be successful you had to have that strong business acumen for that degree.
Right.
So when I compare them, it's not necessarily good or bad, but it's like how they
kind of fit
complemented each other.
That's real cool. So I appreciate you, you know what I'm saying, sharing your experiences with education, with staff, with peers, transitions, and all of that different stuff. So let's talk about, like, we'll say post graduation, present day Rachel.
Okay.
So you're published. In my opinion, you're a published author. You can't tell me otherwise.
Yes.
Tell me about that journey. Like, what inspired you to do it? How you know what I'm saying, went through that path and that road to make it happen. Like, tell me about it.
Yes. So when I graduated from Columbia, I had like a dream job offer. I was gonna be working for a branding agency in Harlem, so I technically was not supposed to stay in Houston. I was like gonna move back. That kind of fell through, and then for like a long list of reasons that I won't go into, but then the pandemic happened. So for me, the bulk of my experience up until that point was hospitality, and that like plummeted during the pandemic.
Right.
And so it was very hard to find a job, and I kind of just, when it got around, so I have came back here in September, and when it got to kind of like March, April 2020, when the height of the pandemic happened, I kind of like just released myself to like, okay, like the I guess what's the word I'm looking for, like going so hard to find a job and like trying to hold myself like so accountable in a way. I can't think of the word that I really want to use, but like I kind of just gave up. Like I was reluctant to, I just let life flow. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
I didn't try to control everything. That's the word I was looking for. I gave up the need to control everything and try to have like a plan. I've always written poetry though, since I was younger. Even when I was like a little kid, like I would write. I've always written down how I felt, because I've always been shy, and I've always been like, I don't want to say like by myself, but like even my siblings. My brother is 11 years older than me. My sister is 6 years older than me. So like sometimes it felt like I was an only child because they were so much growner or older than me. So writing and expressing myself in that way was something that I always did. And I had all of these poems, like from high school and up until that point. And so in an attempt to build my portfolio, like to find jobs and stuff, I was trying to figure out like, okay, what can I do to showcase like my marketing and communication ability. And I think one day I was just going like through my old Tumblr accounts, my old like blogs and articles and stuff that I had written like for Campus Lately and stuff like that. And I was talking to my good friend Amanda, the one who I was talking about earlier from Queens. And I was like, you know, I should write a book. Like I got a lot of stuff that I just wrote and I should like do something with it. And then it was kind of one of those moments like, no, I should really write a book. Like I could actually do this. And I thought about it because, you know, Chris King. From he had wrote his book.
Sure did.
And he shared his manuscript with me actually before he released it. And Xavier, you know Xavier Owens, I knew he wanted to write a book. So I was like, man, like, and people always would tell me that I should do something with my writing. But I was kind of nervous because some of them are personal. A lot of them aren't about me. And I was just like, ooh, I don't know if I want to let people in my life like that. But I looked it up, you know, Google search, and figured out how to do it. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to just do it. I wasn't doing nothing. We was in the pandemic. And so I was like, I could just do this. And it got good feedback. And so...
Shoot, I bought it.
I'm gonna continue.
Pulled it.
Thank you.
Support Black business, like I always say.
And I'm gonna continue on with that.
Is there gonna be a part 2? Is that what you telling me?
There's gonna be a part 2. There's a lot of poems in the works. I don't know. At first, I wanted to get to like 50 or 100, but I think I'm just gonna get to a space. I like to, when things are hobbies of mine, I like to let them free flow.
Right.
I don't like to put too much. I don't like to make it feel like work.
Yeah, like you don't want to force it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna let that flow, and I want that whole venture of sprinkle of thoughts, think out loud, to like grow into other avenues eventually.
That's beautiful.
Which is crazy because I never wanted to be an entrepreneur or anything like that. But yeah, we have a few ideas. I have a big list of stuff that's like my random big ideas that I keep track of and come back to.
So do you have like those on a vision board? Are they in your head? Are they in your notes? Like
they're my notes.
Okay.
They're my notes.
That's cool.
And that's actually another big thing. I think, you know, how I was saying earlier, I didn't want to say like Columbia was by chance, even though it was just like a on the whim type of thing. When I found out that I got accepted there, I think it was Cam Green. He has the Say No More, Say No Less. He's from A-League. He's Alpha. You don't know him?
What do he look like?
He's like kind of tall, dark skin. But
maybe
anyways,
I know about him.
yeah. Anyways, I think he had asked me like what I was doing once I graduated. You know, everybody tries to catch up and stuff around that time. And I was like, oh, I'm going to Columbia. I got a scholarship, yada yada yada. And he was like, that's crazy because you used to always say you're gonna go to grad school and you're gonna get it paid for. And I was like, dang. And I thought about it. And the reason I used to always say that was because my dad used to say, I could help y'all on the first one, but anything after that, that's on y'all. And so I think I always had it in my mindset, like, oh, I gotta get this paid for. Yeah. And so it's like you really have to be mindful of the things you think and say over yourself.
So
because
it sounds like the word of the day is manifestation.
Yeah, they manifest. Yeah. Divine intervention is always at play. And I think that's why I let things free flow.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, because you can't control stuff.
I like that. Well, Grandma, this has been an amazing conversation.
Thank you.
Super happy that you came and kicked it with me on the couch. You came and kicked it with us on the tube or wherever you're listening. We got the streaming links gonna be down in the description. Yes. Don't tell them the name of your book again.
Oh, A Sprinkle of Thoughts.
Down in the description as well.
Yes.
Support black business. Buy it at full price, same as I did, because you gotta pay for what it's worth. Okay. Yeah.
It's only $10.
It's only $10. Okay, you gonna spend more than that on some food anyway.
Yep.
Spend your 10. Support this black woman right here.
Yes.
Cool.
Thank you.
But no, I'm super, 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 super happy that you came and kicked it with me.
Thank you.
Stop by the show. I appreciate your time and your insight.
Yes.
YouTube. Hey, it's been another Unscripted Conversations. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell a friend and tell a friend. And with that, we out.